A couple of weeks ago, I saw our sports massage therapist, Bella, doing a really interesting ab exercise in the gym. I tried it and it was a game changer. I was sore for days afterwards. Nothing had ever hit quite like it, but it had a few limitations and some things that could be tweaked to make it even better. So led to the journey of trying a load of different variations of this to find the perfect one. I'll timestamp the video, so if you just want to jump ahead to see what we ended up on being the perfect exercise, you can. However, Bella actually ended up preferring a different variation. So if you want to see all the variations we went through and which one Bella preferred, then stay tuned. And you can try any of these. They're all good options. Cycle them in your training. You don't have to just do the one we deem the best. Mix and match them over time. So when deciding which we thought was best, it needed to have a good contraction, a good stretch, and ability to increase loading. And the easier the setup, the better. And this is all based off the rope pull down exercise, where you'll kneel in front of a cable machine and pull down. This is particularly effective as you can work to increase load and difficulty, which is normally a challenge with ab exercise as a lot are just body weight. The benefit of this variation is that you can get a good stretch, but loading can be difficult as it pulls you up too much when getting to a good enough level, and the hips aren't always stable enough and you keep rocking back and forward, affecting that contraction, and you can't get quite as good a contraction like you can with these other ones that we tried, which you'll see why in a second. So an alternative for this came when I saw Bella doing a standing ab variation of it on a cable. Intrigued because it's a much easier setup generally, you can just drop it straight into it with two other benefits. One, that you can press your bum into the pad so it keeps the hip stable so you can get more loading. And two, that you can go much lower and get a really good contraction. So work out throughout range, whereas the normal version, you're restricted how far you can go because of the floor. And the problem with a lot of sit-up based exercises is going full range is that when you're at the top, all the load has gone. The downside to this setup on the cable is due to the height, there's less possibility for stretch though. So then came a further adjustment. Doing the same kind of movement, but this time kneeling on a raised platform. It gives the opportunity for better stretch as there's more height available at the top, still with a better contraction as the same range is available. You can get really good loading with this, but the downside is when feeling there's an opportunity to press load, it gets to a point where you just can't quite get into the position well enough. And the other thing is general accessibility and ease of setup. Not everyone will have this kind of cable arrangement or a platform to use, so we tweaked it even further. However, if you can get this set up, then it is a really fantastic option and definitely something I recommend trying. The next adjustment, which is way more accessible, is doing it on a lat pull down machine. The thing with this variation is you can get the loading perfectly right. And another great advantage you're not getting with the others, which I'll discuss in a second. The downside with this way, however, is it's harder to get the stretch and you can't get as much range with the contraction either. But the big benefit is that because of the knee pad, if you push your knees up into it to help with the movement, that allows an increase in load and it also works the lower abs as well as the upper. And this one was actually Bella's overall preference. For me, I wanted this focus more towards the upper abs as I'll hit the lower abs separately, normally with a captain's chair or something like that. And that's where we had a little difference in preference. So this was good for the load, but not for the range, for the stretch or contraction. So we tweaked further and tried it facing the other way. This allowed for more range for contraction, the stretch was better, but not as good as the kneeling one. But again, you'd get stuck with the loading of only being able to go so far, but still a solid choice if wanting to do this one. But we did one tweak further, which led to what I deem the perfect ab exercise. And it's on the lat pull down still, facing away again, but this time leaning forward more. So your bum is against the pad, anchoring your hips, and your feet are back behind you. And if you make sure the movement is coming from the back, you can get a great stretch, a great contraction with good range and it loaded throughout, and you can get really good loading on it. If the loading is getting at the limit, you can even wrap your legs around the back to anchor in more. So if looking at our original checklist, is hitting them all, as well as being a very easy setup. The only downside to this is it can be uncomfortable on the legs, and you might get some hate for using the lat pull down not for its intended purpose. And lat pull downs are generally heavily used, or because it's heavily used, you just can't get on it to do the exercise. And if you can't, I'll do the one in kneeling on the platform, as I put that second on the list for me. To make this even more perfect, then superset it with the captain's chair or a hanging leg raise to get the perfect ab workout. You can also check this video out here where we go through 5 other ab exercises that are generally not commonly used but are very, very effective. So give them a try as well.